Hey guys, my name's Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So Rebecca texted me this morning. She said there was a tree down blocking the road about a half mile from her house. So she said she broke off some branches and she just went for it. So I don't know if she just like drove over this or what, but today I'm coming out here. I'm going to cut this up. I'm going to try to get this tree pushed off the road over into the ditch. That way the road isn't blocked anymore and Rebecca doesn't have to deal with it when she comes back home. So I baled up this hayfield 8 days ago, and when I did, there was a tree that was down along this fence line, so I just ended up mowing around it. Today I'm coming out, I'm going to try to get this tree all cleaned up. It's actually broken off and still attached at the top, so I'm going to get a chain out. I'm going to tie it to the tree. We're going to try to yank this tree down with the tractor and get it on the ground. So this tree is actually big enough that I can use it for firewood. So I'm going to cut this up in small pieces and try to salvage most of this tree. So the rest of this tree that's too small for firewood, I'm just gonna push that with the tractor over into the fence line and just get it off the hayfield. So this tree is broken off, I'd say about 25 feet in the air. So I'm not going to cut this tree down the rest of the way because it's actually on the other side of the fence. It's on my neighbor's property. So I'd have to get permission from my neighbor to cut this down the rest of the way. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Let's go ahead and get this load over to the firewood shed. Well, I can already see all the comments about the weeds. Why can't you keep 41 acres groomed like somebody's yard? So like I said, I round baled this field 8 days ago, and I got all the bales hauled away and put in the barn, except for these last 4 on this far end. So after 8 days of sitting in the sun, and then they got poured on last night, these bales are starting to look pretty rough. Now I know that's more or less on the outside. I'm sure they're still good on the inside. So while we're waiting for these bales to dry, I got a little project in the barn. I want to build a 3-point hay spear. That way I can carry a bale on the back of the tractor as well as the front of the tractor. And then it'll take less trips every time I haul bales. Ooh, that was close. Almost lost it. So this is a pretty simple design. It's just gonna be like a T shape. And then the hay spear is gonna mount in the vertical in this mounting point that we have here. So I just need to drill a 2 1/4 inch hole so that we can weld this in place. So I'm just gonna clean these up a bit and then we'll weld the frame together. So I've got some 3 1/2 inch squares that we're going to weld on the end just to cap it so that there's no way bugs can build nests in there. We don't want any wasp nests. Just try to center this up and then we'll get it tacked on. So now that I've got the frame complete, I need to make the tractor mounting points. And to do that, I'm going to use some 1/2-inch plate steel, 2.5 inches wide. And this is going to basically attach to this frame and stick out about 4 inches forward. And the bottom two, we'll have one on each side, will have the lift pin installed in it. This is the pin that the 3-point arms will slide over and attach to and be able to lift it up and down. And then we'll have 2 more tabs that will stick up off the top of the frame here, and that's where your top link will attach to. So to make these up, all I gotta do is I gotta cut 2 of these with 3/4 inch holes for the top link and 2 of them with 7/8 inch holes for the lift pins. So I've got my 2 metal tabs for the top link, and I've got these clamped on here, and I've ensured that a 3/4 inch bolt will slide through there, so I know the pin is going to go in. So now that I think I've got everything aligned, I can go ahead and weld these metal tabs on. All right, now for the lift arm mounting point, I'll just space it up with this piece of steel, and we'll get it welded on. Well, there's only one more thing to weld on, and that is going to be the mounting for the stabilizer spikes. These are the short spikes that just keep the bale from shaking back and forth. And I just got a square tube with a hole in it, and then my spike is a square bar, same as the last hay spear. So I got these already made up and ready to go. I just got to weld them on, and then we'll get this painted up. So I decided I should probably try this thing out before I paint it. So we'll see if we get it hooked up, get it put together. So I don't have a top link pin to put in here. I'm going to have to buy one the right length. So for now, I'm just going to use this 3/4 inch bolt. It is a grade 8 bolt, so it's a hardened bolt. This should work fine for tonight. All right, we'll get our hay spear put in. Stabilizers put in. We'll get them bolted in place. And the hay spear is complete. And I think it turned out fairly good. The only thing I've noticed is this is as low as it'll go right now without adjusting the turnbuckles. And the turnbuckles are almost as high as they'll go. So we do have a little bit of adjustment left on there, but let's head out to the field and get these bales moved. I forgot to pin the sway control in place. There we go, a lot better. All right, there she goes. Something doesn't seem right, does it? Sure looks like it needs to tilt backwards. Well, I think my first attempt at making a 3-point hay spear is a fail. I got the dimensions for the 3-point hookup. I got that off of some other implements and stuff. Basically, it's 26 inches between the lower pins, and then the upper pin, I think, is 16 inches higher than the lower pins. And when it goes up and down, I know the bale is sagging, so it gives you that representation that it's pointing down, but it isn't. The hay spear is actually staying nice and level as it goes, and that's probably the way a lot of implements are supposed to work. But on this implement, we really want it to tilt backwards. And I think it all has to do with these dimensions right here. So if I would have taken this top link point, I think instead of being 16 inches higher from center of pin to that lower pin, I think if I would have brought this up higher, it would have wanted to make that have to roll backwards to make up that distance there. And I think it would have tilted it backwards. So with the bale spear all the way up, it does look fairly level. And then as we lower it, it might be slightly tipped up, just slightly tipped up. So it's almost moving parallel up and down. If anything, it's going somewhat in the opposite direction. We really want it to tilt backwards. So I think I'm gonna have to eventually add some steel to the top of this. I think it really needs this top link point to be higher. But for today, we're gonna move the bales the way it is. Well, the steers are getting a little bit rambunctious. They're gonna end up knocking this bale off. It made it the whole way, and then you guys are gonna knock it off there. I had a viewer tell me I needed to pull the string off over the hay feeder. So we'll give it a shot. So right now we got a total of 18 round bales stored in here. A couple of them are a little bit smaller bales, not completely full size, but I do feel a lot better about winter, that's for sure. So most of our animals leave during the winter time. We're only gonna have 4 sheep, and a dairy cow. That's pretty much what we're gonna have over the winter time. So this should be plenty for those amount of animals. And the reason we're feeding out hay right now in the summer is because we're overstocked on pasture. I've mentioned that several times. So I basically supplement with hay. Every so many weeks I give them a bale of hay. I'll rotate a couple pastures and then give them a bale of hay. I've kind of got a rotation between pasture, pasture, and then a bale of hay, and trying to keep everything going the way it should be. But we just don't have enough pasture right now. So we do have to feed a little bit of hay, but I do feel a lot better about winter, that's for sure. So now that I have a nice pile of hay in here, I can use that as a work platform because I've got all these lights in here. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, I think I put these in probably like back in 2016, somewhere in there. And they're just cheap Amazon lights. They're still working. And I ended up knocking 2 of them off with a hay bale. I tried to stack a 3rd row and I knocked a couple of these lights off right there. So I'm gonna see if I can climb up there real quick and snap them back in. They just snap into clips and see if they come back on. Hey, look at that, it lit up. All right, and those light up. It's gonna snap in place. There we go. The cheap Amazon lights live again. So the 3-point hay spear, I don't think was totally a fail. I did carry both of the bales up here without dropping them. So that was a success, but it just didn't tilt back the way I really pictured that it should. It just didn't look right, did it? So this is fixable. I really think I can, you know, re-weld some of this. It's gonna take a little bit of work, and I can fix this. Now, lesson learned, I really should have put this on the tractor and made sure it moved the way I wanted it to before I fully welded it out. So that was a huge mistake right there. So now that's gonna cause me a huge amount of grief trying to cut those welds off, or I may just leave those on there and just cut them off and then add new tabs. But either way, it's gonna cause me more work. So lesson learned, I should have just tack welded it, brought it out to the tractor and tried it out. And I'm glad I didn't paint it either, because that would have just been a complete waste of time. So, but it's close, it's really close. I call it a fail, but it is really close to exactly what I want. But anyway, I think it's getting kind of late tonight. It was supposed to be cooler today, but it just doesn't feel cooler. It's just hot and humid. And we had like record temperatures like all week. Or I don't want to say record temperatures, but really high temperatures all week. It was like the heat index was around 109 to 113 most of the week this week. It was very high heat index, and it's just miserable outside. And it is a little bit better, and I think tomorrow's even going to be better. So I can't wait for fall. I'm ready for some cooler weather, that is for sure. But anyway, I'm going to close the barn up and call it a night. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.